Yo, what's up gamers? So, I'm cleaning today. Not the fun kind, the kind where you're pulling dust out of the vents and finding stains that have lore. And while mopping behind the breakroom fridge, I find this old article that definitely shouldn't still exist. That's when I decided this needed to be a series. So this will be the first episode of the Janitor Files. A running list of urban gaming stories a janitor like me would hear. We have rumors, myths, and panic headlines that floated around the gaming industry. Some of them got case closed, some of them are still weirdly unanswered. But before we crack this one open, do me a favor. Hit that like button, subscribe if you want more stories the industry never cleaned up, and tell me in the comments down below, what's the wildest gaming rumor you remember actually believing? So let's start creating the file. Was this an actual intelligence concern, or peak early 2000s tech panic that never got cleaned up? So where did this rumor actually come from? Not the Pentagon, not the CIA, not some leaked military document. It came from a December article published by WorldNet Daily, right as the PlayStation 2 launched, and then vanished from store shelves. And into that chaos dropped this explanation. The article claimed Saddam Hussein was allegedly buying up to 4,000 PlayStation 2s, not to play games, but to bundle them together into a military supercomputer in order to develop missiles, do weapons research, and even have drone control. So according to this story, the reason you didn't get a PS2 for Christmas that year was because it was getting drafted into a war. And here's why this rumor stuck specifically to the PlayStation 2. The PS2 didn't launch as just another console, it arrived with a reputation. Sony didn't talk about it like a toy, they talked about it like a machine. We had custom chips, new architecture, words like emotion engine, and next generation processing everywhere, marketing and tech coverage. On top of that, it wasn't just a game system, it also had a DVD player at a time when DVD players were expensive and still considered cutting edge. To the average person, this thing wasn't just playing games, it was decoding movies, pushing advanced 3D graphics, and doing math most home computers struggled with. That combination, advanced specs, confusing language, and total security turned the PlayStation 2 into the perfect blank canvas for speculation. If someone said it could be repurposed, there wasn't much in the moment to immediately disprove it. Which brings us to the claims themselves. The report tried making it sound official, because according to multiple articles, each PlayStation 2 contained a 32-bit CPU, which they described as being every bit as powerful as processors found in most home computers at the time. The graphics hardware was framed as a real breakthrough. The report claimed a single PS2 could generate up to 75 million polygons per second, far beyond what most consumer PCs could handle at the time, and powerful enough to rival professional graphics workstations. Polygons, the articles explained, were the building blocks of 3D models, the same kind used in advanced simulations and technical design. From there, the claims escalated. Bundled together, these consoles were allegedly capable of calculating ballistic missile trajectories, assisting in nuclear weapon modeling, and solving computational problems Iraq was said to struggle with. And then came the most dramatic claim. The article suggested that a network of just 12 to 15 PlayStation 2 consoles could provide enough computing power to control an unmanned aerial vehicle, a drone. On paper, the story wasn't describing a toy anymore. It was describing a supercomputer hiding in plain sight. To understand why this rumor really took off, you've got to look at who the story was about. Saddam Hussein was positioned as a long-term adversary of the United States. Sanctions, surveillance, military pressure. The assumption was simple. If he couldn't compete head-to-head, he looked for unconventional ways to level the field. And honestly, that idea didn't sound crazy to people. Most folks didn't really understand how computers worked at the time. Hell, I don't understand half of this tech either. That's why I'm in the janitor business and not engineering. So when headlines started throwing around CPU specs and polygon counts, those numbers carried authority whether anyone truly understood them or not. An enemy under pressure using off-the-shelf consumer tech so quietly worked around US military dominance, it didn't need any proof, it just needed to sound plausible. And once you slow down and actually look at it, the story falls apart fast. Rendering polygons for video games is not the same thing as doing scientific computation. Moving 3D graphics on a screen doesn't translate into missile calculations or nuclear physics. The PlayStation 2 was built to play games, not to run precision simulations, not to model explosive yields, and definitely not to control military hardware. And there's never been any evidence, no purchase records, no intercepted shipments, no proof these consoles were ever bundled, deployed, or tested for anything military. Strip away the big numbers and scary language, and the claims don't hold up under even basic technical scrutiny. And this is where I had to stop and ask the uncomfortable question. Was Saddam Hussein actually right and wanted to test it as an experiment? We're not talking about conquering the world here, but at the idea that the PlayStation 2 had enough raw computing power to be used for something other than video games. And here's the honest answer that I could find. The story itself doesn't hold up, but the concept behind it wasn't completely imaginary. Later on, researchers in universities really did experiment with linking PlayStation 2s together, not for weapons, but for workloads that could be broken into simple repetitive math. The PS2's processor was good at parallel calculations, that's what made it great at graphics. And in very specific non-military scenarios, a cluster of them could actually do real computational work, but that's where the line gets crossed. Military calculations require extreme precision, verified results, secure systems, and highly specialized software. The PS2 wasn't built for that, and there's no evidence Saddam ever had the software, the infrastructure, or the expertise to make something like that work. So no, he wasn't secretly right, but the fear that maybe he could have been, that came from a real misunderstanding for what real technology could and couldn't do. So here's the reality check. The most obvious explanation for the PS2 shortage was also the simplest. Launch chaos, massive demand, and Sony struggling to keep up. But this is why the Janitor Files was created, not in declaring final verdicts, but in the space between rumor and reality, because stories like this doesn't spread unless they tap into something real. Fear of technology, confusion around specs, and the idea that powerful tools might be hiding in plain sight. There's no proof this ever happened, but there's a reason people believed it could, so the file stays open. If you like digging through strange gaming history, urban legends, and tech panic that never fully went away, do me a favor, hit like, subscribe, and stick around. I'll keep cleaning up the stories. You decide what you believe in. This is Scruffy the Janitor signing off. Peace out.